Hi, this is Tim. Welcome to Tim Can Cook. So today we're going to be making English muffins. I really should say today and tomorrow because English muffins are a two-day process. We're going to start by making a starter. The starter has to live, grow, expand, ferment for about 12 hours. Then we'll make the dough. The dough will proof overnight in the refrigerator, and then tomorrow we will fry our English muffins. That's right, they're not cooked in the oven, they're cooked on a griddle. But to start with, we're going to make our starter. I have in the bowl already 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour. We'll add a ½ teaspoon of active yeast or instant yeast, it doesn't matter, and a ½ cup of warm water. Now you know the drill with the water. It needs to be warm enough to activate the yeast, but not so hot that you kill it. So just warm to the touch, something around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It's just fine. Lightly mix that. This is going to go into a warm place with a cover. I'll just cover this with some saran wrap, and I'll be back again in about 12 hours. See you then. Okay, we're back. It's been 12 hours. Our starter has doubled in size and has fermented. It's got a wonderful smell. If you happen to have a sourdough starter, you can use a couple tablespoons of that instead of making your own. Since I don't have a sourdough starter going at the moment, we made our starter from scratch. So what we'll do now is we'll take, where's our butter? Oh, our butter's in the microwave. We'll take a cup of milk, 1 teaspoon of yeast, and 2 tablespoons of melted butter, and we'll whisk these together in the bowl of our stand mixer. Now we're going to add the starter to this. It's important that this starter gets fully incorporated into the base of the batter. And if you don't do that, you can really have an odd combination once you get this thing going. So this is really simple. Nothing here. This is just all liquid at the moment. Now we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt and 2 tablespoons of sugar into our base. Now we have 4 cups of flour. I'm going to add in approximately 3 cups. At this point it's not all that important. I'm going to add in about 3 cups of flour, and just using the spatula, mix this in. Going to get this initially incorporated before we put it on the actual mixer. So you can see I'm just combining the wet and the dry. I could have skipped this step and done it on the mixer, I guess, but it's okay to do this way. And just looking for kind of a rough dough here before we go into the mixer. All right. So now we're going to go into our mixer, put our dough hook on, and we're going to begin the kneading process. Now, if you don't have a stand mixer, you can do all this kneading by hand. I just love my mixer, and so of course we're going to use it. So let me get things repositioned here a little bit, and we'll get our mixer going. Now, as our mixer's going, we may need to add more flour. The humidity of the day, how much moisture is in the flour, all impacts how much flour ends up going into the batter. I can tell already that we're going to need to add some more. So I'll go ahead and put a small amount in. Again, I had 4 cups total, so I'm somewhere between 3.5 and 4 cups at the moment. And we'll just keep mixing this in until the dough gets to the right consistency. We want it to pull away from the sides. It's okay if it sticks to the bottom. It's okay if it sticks to the dough hook, but we don't want it to stick to the sides. And I think we might be okay here. We'll let this go for a couple of minutes and see what it looks like. This dough actually looks perfect. So we're going to go ahead and let it knead for about 4 minutes now that everything's fully incorporated, and then we'll be right back. So we've had our 4 minutes in the mixer, and we're just going to turn this out onto our silicone mat, which you know how much I love my silicone mat by now. And we're going to oil our bowl just a little bit here, because we're going to go back into the bowl in just a minute. So what we're going to do here on the mat is we're simply going to take this dough, and you see the dough is still sticky but not overly so. We're just going to turn it under, give ourselves a nice little skin. This will go top side down in our bowl. Then we'll flip it over. So here it is back in our bowl. It's been oiled. It's now going to get a cover. Because it's going to go into the refrigerator overnight, we're going to cover this with saran wrap. I don't want the dough to dry out. Normally, if I would cover it on the counter, I would just use a damp cloth. But because we're going into the refrigerator, which is quite dry, we're going to cover this with saran wrap. So it'll spend the night in the refrigerator, and I'll see you back here in the morning where we will make our English muffins. Good morning, we're back. So the dough has spent the night in the refrigerator, and it's doubled in size. Now we'll take this dough out and form our muffins. Now, this dough is not like what you'd see in a normal bread dough. So for this, we're going to divide it into 12 equal pieces. And then with each of these pieces, what we're going to do is just going to form it into a ball. I'll show you a couple here. Now notice I'm doing this on the silicone mat with no flour. So I formed it into a ball. I'll place these balls on a baking sheet that has been dusted with cornstarch, or corn flour, not cornstarch, cornmeal. And then we'll let these rise for about 2 hours. And then we'll proceed to cook them. So I'm not going to make you watch me roll out all these balls. But you see, I just kind of fold the corners up. It's important that you do this on an unfloured surface so you have the friction. We'll let these rise for a couple of hours, and then we'll cook them. Remember, these get grilled, not baked in the oven. So I'll see you back here in a couple of hours. Okay, so here are our 12 English muffins. They are, of course, not identical in size. If you really want to have them identical in size, you probably need to measure them out, weigh them out. I have a few big ones and a few little ones, but they'll be great. They'll sit here for about 2 hours while they double in size, and then we'll come back and we will cook them on the electric grill. Okay, it's been a couple of hours. As you can see, our muffins have puffed up. This is actually great. Now they have a little bit of why do I always want to say corn flour? And you know what I'm talking about. On top and bottom, I have preheated the electric griddle to 350 degrees. And we will go ahead and just place our English muffins on here, and we're just going to flatten them a little bit. I don't want them to be real tall and puffy. I want them to be a little, you know, look kind of like English muffins. Now they're not going to stick to this griddle, so I didn't put any butter or anything on it. If you're doing this in a frying pan, which you certainly can do, you want to put down a little bit of butter first. Now some people want to cook these in a ring mold. That's also perfectly acceptable. When you do that, you want to put them in the mold on the floured surface here, because you want them to expand into that mold shape and stop. I'm okay, like most of the things I cook, I'm okay with them being a little bit rustic looking. That's perfectly fine with me. Now it's going to take about 5 or 6 minutes per side, and we'll take a peek at them at about the 4.5 minute mark. Make sure they're not too brown, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, it's time to check on these and flip them over. Oh yes, very nice. Now, if for some reason your pan is too hot and they should be browning too quickly, you can go ahead and finish them on the grill for the texture you want on the outside, and then you can put them in a 350 degree oven and bake them off until the insides are cooked the way you want them. Normally with this grill at 325 to 350 degrees for 4, 5, sometimes 6 minutes per side. I don't know why the time difference sometimes, but this is a perfect color for me, and I'm just going to just tap them down, push them down just a little bit, not much, just to get a slightly larger flipped surface. The cornmeal stays on them. Cornmeal. Corn flour, corn starch. No. The cornmeal stays on them. That's just fine. These will finish off here for another 3.5, 4 minutes, and then we'll try one out. We'll be right back. So our muffins have been cooking for about 5 minutes on this side. The doneness on the bottom looks perfect, but we're going to check the temperature. They should be 200 degrees Fahrenheit internal. And they aren't getting any more brown on the bottom, so we can just let them sit for as long as we need to. Don't believe they're going to brown anymore. We have 195 here, so just probably another minute. And then we can give these a test. So we'll just let them sit here for another minute or so. We'll get them off onto the rack, let them cool down a little bit, and then we'll come back for a test. I can't wait. I love English muffins. Everything I cook on this channel, I love. So you're going to hear me say that a lot, I'm afraid. I have an English muffin for breakfast every morning, usually with butter and peanut butter, sometimes with jelly. Today we're going to have strawberry preserve. So we'll be back here in just a minute and do a taste test on one of these little babies. So here we have our beautiful English muffins. I make these about every 2 weeks, and I just adore them. So we'll try this one with a little bit of margarine and some strawberry preserves. And let's just see. It's absolutely worth letting that starter go for 12 hours before you use it. It develops a full depth of flavor. You won't regret it. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope this demystified English muffins. Although the process takes a couple days, it's not difficult. The fact that you cook them in a frying pan, a skillet, or on that electric griddle makes it a fun project to do with kids. So if you like this, please subscribe, share it with a friend, help me grow the channel, and I'll see you again next time on Tim Can Cook.